Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present you a tutorial on topic clinical correlations of brachial plexus. In this video we are going to cover Erb's paralysis and Klumpke's paralysis in detail, in which we would cover the site and cause of injury, the muscles paralyzed, the nerve roots involved and the deformity. So we studied the components and branches of brachial plexus in the previous video, and from your knowledge of your previous video you guys know that what is upper trunk and what is middle trunk and what is lower trunk, right? So your nerve roots C5 and C6 join together to form your upper trunk. This is your upper trunk, this is your middle trunk, and this is your lower trunk. So injury to the Erb's point, this is your Erb's point. Erb's point of your upper trunk is your Erb's paralysis, and injury to the lower trunk is known as your Klumpke's paralysis, right? So here you can see that nerve roots from C5 and C6 join together to form upper trunk, and upper trunk gives two branches, that is your nerve to subclavius and suprascapular nerve, and further the upper trunk dividing into anterior and posterior division. So this point is known as your Erb's point, and if there would be any injury to your Erb's point, there would be Erb's paralysis. An injury to your lower trunk, which involves nerve roots C8 and T1, is your Klumpke's paralysis, right? So we are going to study both these clinical conditions in a tabulated form, so that along with their features, the differences between them is also clear to all of you. So first is a site of injury. In Erb's paralysis, there is an injury to the Erb's point of your upper trunk. Erb's point is a point where 6 nerves are meeting. In Klumpke's paralysis, there is an injury to the lower trunk. The nerve roots involved in the Erb's paralysis are C5 and C6, whereas in Klumpke's paralysis, the nerve roots involved are C8 and T1. What is the cause of the injury? So, in your Erb's paralysis, there is an separation of the head from your shoulder, which is mostly due to any birth injury, right? While delivery of the baby, there can be separation of the head from the shoulder of the baby and can cause your Erb's paralysis. If there is a fall on shoulder, right? If there is a sudden fall on shoulder, it can also cause your Erb's paralysis. Or sometimes it is due to anesthesia also, right? And what is the reason of Klumpke's paralysis? Suppose a person falls from a height, right? And he tries to hold something. He tries to clutch something with his or her hands, right? So in that case, there would be sudden abduction of the arm. Abduction is when your arm moves away from your main trunk or your body. So he has fallen from a height and he's trying to catch something, he's trying to clutch something. So in that case there can be sudden abduction of the arm, and in that case it can cause Klumpke's paralysis, right? For example, in cricket, while catching the ball, right? So now coming to the muscles paralyzed. In Erb's paralysis, mainly biceps brachii, brachioradialis, and I'm sorry, this is brachialis, and this is not coracobrachialis, this is brachialis. So your biceps brachii, brachioradialis, and brachialis muscle is mainly paralyzed in Erb's paralysis. There are some other muscles also, like your deltoid and extensor carpi radialis longus. In Klumpke's paralysis, your intrinsic muscles of the hand, ulnar flexors of wrist and fingers are paralyzed. What is the position of the hand? In Erb's paralysis, the person presents with policeman's tip or waiter's tip hand. So how does it look like? This is the second diagram shows this is your policeman's tip or waiter's tip hand. So in Erb's paralysis, the patient presents with this kind of feature. So what is the position of the limb? So you can see that the arm is hanging by the side of the body, right? The arm is normally hanging by the side of the body and it is adducted. It means that it is towards the main trunk, it is towards the body, it is not away from the body, it is towards the body. It is adducted, it is hanging by the side and it is medially rotated. The arm is medially rotated. Coming to your forearm, the forearm you can see it is extended. It is not in a flexed position, right? It is extended. The forearm is extended and it is in a pronated position, right? It is not in a supinated position, it is in a pronated position, right? Okay. So, about your clump case paralysis, the patient presents with the claw hand. Claw hand, how it appears, how it looks like. So, you can see in this picture, this is your claw hand, complete claw hand, right? In complete claw hand, there is hyperextension at the metacarpophalangeal joint. Right, this is your here we have metacarpals, right? So these metacarpals with the phalanges, these are your phalanges. So the metacarpophalangeal joint here, these joints are in hyperextension, right? There is a hyperextension at your metacarpophalangeal joint and flexion at interphalangeal joint, right? So you can see that there is flexion at your between the phalanges and between the metacarpal and the phalange we have hyperextension. So it appears as a complete claw hand, right? So coming to the disability of Erb's paralysis. So in Erb's paralysis, the arm is adducted and medially rotated because the muscles which oppose these action is paralyzed. So in Erb's paralysis, there is adduction of the arm due to paralysis of your deltoid muscle, right? There is adduction due to paralysis of deltoid muscle and the arm is medially rotated. There is medial rotation of the arm because the supraspinatus, infraspinatus and teres minor, these are muscles of your rotator cuff, right? These three muscles, that is your supraspinatus, infraspinatus and teres minor, they are also paralyzed. Therefore, there is medial rotation of the arm, right? Then there is extension and pronation of the forearm. The forearm is extended and pronated, right? So there is extension of the elbow due to paralysis of biceps brachii. Basically, biceps brachii brings flexion of your forearm, but since biceps brachii is paralyzed, so the forearm is in extended position. Then there is pronation of your forearm because of your paralysis of your biceps brachii, similar muscle, right? Then there is loss of sensation. There is sensory loss too. There is loss of sensation along your arm because the nerve roots of C6 spinal nerve is involved, right? There is a very minimal sensory loss. There is very minimal sensory loss over a small area over the lower part of the deltoid. So on the lower part of the deltoid, on a very small area, there is a sensory loss too in Erb's paralysis, right? So there is loss of abduction and lateral rotation because of paralysis of deltoid and supraspinatus, infraspinatus and teres minor muscle, right? There is loss of flexion and supination of forearm because there is paralysis of biceps brachii muscle. There is a there are biceps and supinator jerks are also lost, and there is sensory loss on your lower part of the deltoid. Coming to the disability portion of your clump case paralysis, there is complete claw hand. I already told you that there is hyperextension at the metacarpophalangeal joint and flexion at the interphalangeal joint. So there is complete claw hand. Then next is your Horner's syndrome. The patient presents with Horner's syndrome. So what is Horner's syndrome? Uh, Basically, it is because it is a clinical condition in which there is an injury to the sympathetic fibers which leaves the spinal cord from T1 and supplies the head and neck, right? So there is an injury to these sympathetic fibers, and as a result there is drooping of eye, there is constricted pupil, and there is loss of sweating on the affected side of the face, right? We'll discuss this syndrome in detail in a separate video. You can just remember that there is injury to the sympathetic fibers from T1 which supplies your head and neck, and as a result there is constricted pupil, there is drooping of your eyelid, upper eyelid, and loss of sweating on the affected side of the face, right? And coming to the sensory loss, there is sensory loss on the medial border of the forearm and your hand, right? And the area where where there is sensory loss, it becomes warmer and drier, right? It becomes warm and dry. Why warm? Because the arteries get dilated there. Why drier? Because there is absence of sweating, because there is loss of sympathetic activity. There is no sympathetic activity over the area of sensory loss, so there is no sweating and it becomes dry, right? So these are the vasomotor changes. Coming to the tropic changes, what happens? There's paralysis of muscles, right? So in long standing cases of paralysis, sometimes the skin becomes dry and scaly, right? The skin becomes dry and scaly, and nails started cracking easily, and there is a atrophy of your pulp of fingers. And by atrophy is basically wasting of a muscle, because the muscles has been paralyzed for a long time, so they are the body is not using them, and as a result the skin becomes dry, scaly, and nails also crack, and there is atrophy of the pulp of fingers, right? There is atrophy of your pulp of fingers. I hope the differences between the Erb's paralysis and clump case paralysis is clear to all of you. And if you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section below. And if you want me to make a separate video on clump case paralysis, I can do that. Let me know in the comment section. So I hope this is clear to all of you. Okay. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any queries, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.